Hi, and welcome to another inspiring artist worth studying. Today I'm going to be talking about Paul Bonner. Hi, my name is Luis Escobar. I'm a storyboard artist in the Simpsons television show. I've been working on the show for over 25 years now, and I'm here to empower you. Paul Bonner is a painter. He does fantasy artwork. He's worked for Games Workshop, among other miniature game studios. And he tends to do a lot of, obviously, if he's working for Games Workshop, he does fantasy, and he kind of specializes in a few things like creatures. He like goblins and dwarves and ogres and giants, things like that. So it's not something that I myself want to be able to paint. I admire the artwork a lot, and I'll show you the paintings and why. But one of the things that blows my mind and that makes me really get inspired by him and want to study his work more than anything else is that he works in watercolor. And you would not think that his work is done in watercolor because of the way that it looks. So let me show you what I mean. So here we have a painting. I believe this is for a miniatures game. Again, I don't remember what it was called, although it's probably discontinued now. But look at this thing. Look how beautiful this looks. And this is watercolor. He doesn't work in any other medium but watercolor. I believe there has to. I think this is a mix of watercolor and gouache, and gouache you could argue is well, it's watercolor, but it's just opaque watercolor. And but look at it. Look how amazing this painting is. You wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't think that this is a watercolor medium at all. The shape, the design and the shapes that he's created here are insane. One of the things that is worth looking at whenever you're looking at something complicated and kind of like this, especially like, for example, let me show you this arm. Let's take a look, and it's unfortunately it's not high enough a resolution so you could really see the detail here because it gets all pixelated. But I just wanted to show you that this arm here is not only anatomically sound, but it is actually extremely simplified. You don't think it is, but it is, because if you look at the way that it's outlined, it actually has a very, it doesn't have a very lumpy, bumpy outline. We have a kind of a straight here, then we have another one, then we have like an S curve, a very subtle S curve, and it's almost straight here. Then we have this kind of a round edge, and then comes down here. It's extremely subtle, and what really sells it is these overlapping shapes of these muscles here, and they're only there just to show you the overlap of the arm as it comes into the foreground. So things like that are things to look out for and look at and see when you're studying any kind of artist like this. Also, how the background, as detailed as it is actually much softer than the foreground, which is much sharper, so that we could actually really focus on all of these things. And even here where we have this arm and it's supposed to be, you know, kind of detailed, it really isn't. It's just dark. If you squint, you'll barely see a little bit of bounce light in here. See how this shape is completely in darkness. This darkness is just what it does is it frames this face. But this is a beautiful piece. Okay, so we have here, see what I mean when I say that he does a lot of fantasy, he does a lot of monsters, and look at this beautiful design, and I love the colors here, and at the same time, see, this is what again blows my mind, that it's watercolor, and this must be opaque opaque watercolor. I think that this is like you know, obviously there's white here, there's white here. This is gouache. So he layers this in here, and I think I'm going to show you some process paintings so we can see what so I can show you what I mean when I say that it's opaque. So it's watercolor, but it's gouache, and gouache is opaque. So you could actually layer on top and add an extra layer and thickness to the paint and add this kind of different feel to the painting. Look at this beautiful shape here. It's fantastic. It just goes, it seems like, because of the amount of texture that he's put on everything, it just seems like it's overly detailed. There's a lot of detail, but the detail actually belies the simplicity of the design, which really is just C shape here. Then we've got the mouth, which is actually here's another C shape, and then it comes up like this. See how it's just super simple, and it's mostly proportion and energy and power. Everything here is moving through. We have a lot of this going on, but it seems like there's a lot going on, but there's actually really clear, very clear silhouette, and it's very, very simple. So here's the pencil drawing of this beast here. So you can see that look how clear and clean all of this is before he adds any of this texture. We have a really, really clean silhouette. We have everything is very, very clear. It's really worked out. Nothing here is overwrought. We even have this area here where it's just kind of masking off all the dark areas, so that this area is going to be like this area. This is your eye's not supposed to be in this area. That's what this idea, this dark area scratching here is and here. What he's basically breaking down is, your eye's not going to go here. That's not where I want your eye to go. It's going to go over here to these main shapes here. And so when we look at the painting, that's exactly what we get. Like, look at this. There's nothing there. This is practically, if this was Frazetta, it would just be a shape, and there would barely be, if any, detail at all in here. But look how your eyes completely ignore all this stuff here, all of this stuff, because it's not, if you squint, it actually just becomes one mass of a shape, which is what he's trying to go for here. That's what this is all about, that kind of planning. So here we have another giant epic painting, and here in this one, I'm going to show you a very small part where he breaks down. He shows you part of his process, which I think is enlightening, especially because of the fact that he's using watercolors and gouache here, so we can kind of see how it's done, how how he builds to something like this. But this is really, really beautiful work. It's to me, it's really surprising that that this works so well, considering how much little tiny details everything has. It all reads really, really well. The backgrounds are insane. Like, he just loves doing these landscapes. I'm not a fan of doing landscapes at all. Like, I have a really difficult time really enjoying doing backgrounds and landscapes and things like this. I think I'd do a lot more painting if I did enjoy that aspect of painting and working, because there's so much to it when you have to do these kinds of beautiful backgrounds. But it's something I've just never been really into. It's just not. It just doesn't. You have to really love it to do it. And here's this beautiful, beautiful piece. So here we have these dwarves over here. So this is these dwarves here on the bottom. And this is the preliminary layer, or once he gets the sketch done and he starts to paint it. Notice that it's just really simple graphic shapes. Like he first puts in all the main values, the main hues and the main values, where the gist of the shadows are going to go, where the shadows are going actually. This is the local color and the texture of the local color, so that you can see the folds. It's kind of like the occlusion. Occlusion being where the areas in the painting or in the subject where light ceases to be able to put itself in, like when two objects meet, like when your fingers meet, there is an actual physical line that you can see. That is the occlusion. That's where light no longer can enter, which makes a line between the two objects. So when you're painting, you're looking for areas of occlusion where the light doesn't hit, and you're able to actually make a separation between objects, overlapping objects, from noses to fingers to armor, for example, right here. This is an occlusion. So he's working at the occlusion areas. He's working at the shadow masses here, and he's putting in the local color. And the thing about putting in the local color is that it's not one flat color. In whatever local color you put, there is a gradient in that local color. So it's a varied local color. It doesn't have the same hues throughout. There is a change in color, even even just in the hat. There's here he's chosen yellows and greens and blues and grays and blue grays, things like that, oranges. There's a variety of different colors, even on the surface of one single object. That way, it makes it feel more organic. Once he's got all those, the occlusions, the lighting, and the local color variations, then he goes in and adds the final pass. And apparently, look, he's added even more fine details in here. Once you have the local color, then you start popping. You start pulling out the highlights. You start adding where light hits. So a lot of light here, a lot. That's one of the things that makes this work. Is now that you've got the values and the local colors and all the occlusions, then you start popping in as much light as possible so that it makes things turn. And of course, just finishing up a lot of this detail. So look how simple it is here, and then it turns into much more detail. But a lot of this stuff, see how this is all like a mid-tone, and then he starts popping in all the light, and it creates such a difference once you start really working out all that light coming in. And so this is how it's now very clear through the process that he's using opaque watercolors, namely gouache, because you wouldn't be able to do this with any other kind of you would have to have added the white first. You would have to leave the white areas if you weren't using gouache. But with gouache, you have white gouache that you can paint on top of things and mix the white in there. So it really, really works. This is it's just really great to see the process, so that you can get this kind of how you can get this kind of look using gouache and watercolors. And finally, we have this insane epic painting. Look at this thing. And here we have this. This is one valley this is one hue. It's all blue over here, and then it slowly turns into this orange over here. And then we've got this beautiful, beautiful arc here because of these giant statues of I don't know, lions, mountain lions. But it's amazing. This is for another miniatures game. It's just so good, and to have this, to know that this is, you know, gouache / watercolor painting. It's just utter insanity. It's just madness to me. Like, I'm just like, how is it possible that you can get this kind of beautiful painting out of just like gouache, watercolor and stuff? And it's just it's so good. But it's just, look, it's just amazing. And the designs really push. See, the thing that makes this stuff really work is his shape design, the way that he uses shape. No matter how grotesque, this is really, these are appealing shapes. All of these are really appealing shapes. So they're just so good. This is amazing work. So we're right back to where we started. So that is Paul Bonner. I highly recommend you study him for any kind of fantasy painting. He's one of those guys that is really exciting and really fun to look at. And I found it extremely frustrating to find digital work, not digital work, but a lot of his artwork online that's good, like that's a high enough definition that you could actually like take a good close look, because look how pixely it is when you're trying to take a look at this stuff. So I recommend you pick up his this book of his paintings, and that way you can really take a good close look at what he does and how he does it, and his shapes and his designs. This is a much better. See, you get close-ups of areas in the painting, so you could get a closer look into certain areas. You also get a lot of his pencil work, so you can really take a look at how he pencils things out and roughs things out. He does really good pencil work, and it's worth taking a very good look at, so you can better understand his process and how good of a draftsman he is, so he's able to pull these crazy epic paintings off. I'm gonna put a link to this book in the description of this video if you're interested. Yeah, that's Paul Bonner. I hope I've opened your eyes to a brand new artist that you hadn't heard of before, and if you have, hopefully what I've said kind of makes you appreciate his work even more. Okay, so thanks a lot for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. All right, bye.